Hello and welcome to another edition of Led's Lap Guides. Sorry for the voice, still getting over a little bit of a cold, but it's a little rough, but I still wanted to give you these lap guides, even if the voice isn't at the highest quality. So as always with these guides, we focus a little more on the racing lines that you need to be working on to get the best time you possibly can. As always, we'll be using our very own Apex Visualizer for that overhead view that you'll be hard-pressed to find anywhere else. This week honestly brings some very fun combos. Group 3 at Lago Maggiore, standard direction, and Group 4 at Autopolis. For Lago, we ran the GTR, after giving the M6 a little bit of a try, but we stuck with the GTR and definitely got our best time with that one. And for Autopolis, we ran the NSX because of its superior handling in the faster corners. But a note about Race C. It is a grid start this week, so all the all-wheel drive cars, they are going to launch off the grid start so much faster than anything that is a rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. So be prepared to be at a disadvantage right away and probably lose spots even before you get to turn 1. So without further delay, here is how we break down the corners for these two tracks. So for turn 1, we're braking. I like to brake pretty much as the middle of my car meets the fencing, the end of the fencing on the right there. And as here you're banging down the gears. And some cars are going to be able to handle this better than others. You're down in first, and really clobber as much of this apex as you possibly can. Really what you're trying to do is from your turn-in point to the next turn-in point for the right-hander, you're trying to make that as straight of a line as possible, actually. So you're on the throttle as you get over to that pretty hard. The key is to brake right in this vicinity here. You got to brake a little earlier than you might think because you've essentially just been on the throttle. You've done one corner, but now you have to get ready for the next one. The reason you need to be ready as soon as possible is because you really have to get the car as tight as possible. So honestly, your right tire should be on the grass here, and your right tire should be on the yellow here. Slowest point is right in this spot right here. So and it's not quite 180, so it's a little more like that. This is essentially what we're going for here. Nice and tight, nice and tight. We're at our slowest at the bottom of the V or the bottom of the U, however you want to look at it. And then we're on the throttle in this vicinity. Maybe not full throttle right away. Definitely not full throttle right away. But that's the objective there, is to get that far over, okay? Move to the next section here. Here's where a lot of time is though. So you need to be on the throttle here and you need to get the car pointed. So here's the key with this one, okay? If you find, and this is what I was finding even too with putting in some laps here. If you find that you end up out here and that sort of thing, then you're probably still just carrying a tad bit too much speed. I mean, you're really tight. You're in the 30 mile per hour range here. It's very slow, but you need to be that slow so that the car can actually handle the turn and you can get the car pointed so that by this point, right around here, you're on full throttle and can make the corner, okay? For this sector, we have a left that then goes to a right. It's an open left with a tighter right-hand turn, okay? And what we're looking at here is this first left-hander is a faster one, but we actually have to sacrifice some speed in order to set up properly for the next one. So I want you to be as wide as you can, okay? The game is allowing you to even go beyond the white lines here. We need to be lifting as soon as we turn in here. We need to lift, and then we need to be as close to full throttle as we can, but if we need to feather it and lift off some in this vicinity, that's okay. We must hit this apex right here. And we should not really be any wider. Our momentum shouldn't carry us any wider than this, okay? That's critical for this part right here. Once we do that, that means we can get over to the right, over to the left very succinctly and very quickly. And we're in third, now we're in second gear, and we have this nice wide entrance. And So let's use the visualizer for this one. It's about like that. So this is what we're going for here. We're going for a wide entrance. You know, over here we maybe the car was in this location here. Now we've tracked it out to the left so that we can get a nice wide entrance and be on the throttle in this vicinity here. Now the only difference between the visualizer and the actual track is you can assassinate the track limits on the outside here, and honestly, in order to get a quick time, you got to do it. There's no way around it. So what does it look like on the actual track? So down into second gear, on the throttle right about here, what we don't want to do at this point is over rotate the steering wheel. We have a little bit of a rise on the pavement here. And when you see yourself spinning and you see others spinning there, that's what's happening in that spot. Okay. Unlike some other tracks, I need you to plan. We need to plan to go wide on this portion here. Okay. So don't turn too far to the right, and honestly plan to be out here. That will make it so that you don't over rotate and you experience power oversteer. Interesting corner here. All told, it's 1, 2, 3 corners, right? You see that? It's this first one, then the tighter one, and then the last one. But look at where we end up. We end up actually just beyond 180 degrees. So what we need to do here is treat this like a wide apex, utilizing the banking that's at the apex to get the most, to get as early of a throttle input as possible. So obviously it's not a representation of the actual sector, but this is the idea of where we're having a wide entrance, clipping the apex, being on the throttle as early as possible. So what does that look like on the actual track? When we're coming down here, we're braking right at this spot. So we're braking at the end of the blocks over on the left here before it goes to grass. You want to try and brake as straight of a line as possible. I like to kind of point the car. So I'm braking, and I'll move away a little bit from the grass and then kind of back towards it. I'm braking all the way past here and I'm turning in second gear. You notice how wide my turn is, okay? Because I want to get this angle. If I get this angle proper, I can carry lots of speed into this apex. I can be on the throttle no later than where I am right now. And the GTR is super stable here, much more than the M6, which is what I started on. And don't be afraid to track out all the way out there, like that. Okay. Don't have an apex visualizer yet for S's. It's in the works. I do want one because I feel like it's very valuable to have. The idea is wide entrance to the first one, and you're trying to carry as much speed through it. So you want to be really at your slowest at the beginning of the S's, of the sequence, right? What's happening is we're taking a nice wide entrance here, using third gear. Wide entrance, but I want you to murder this apex, okay? Like, I want you to think in outside tires where you think the inside tires are going to be the whole time. If that makes sense. Just like this, clobbering this apex, and then get the weight transferred early. So you'll find that people spin here a lot, and it's because they're over rotating the steering wheel. You want to straighten this as much as possible, because if not, you will end up against the wall over to the right, and so will I. Everybody will. So straighten this as much as possible, come through just like this, okay? After you've done the first left-hander, is to be as close to flat out as possible. Only lift minimally when needed through this part, unless of course you make a bigger error and then you got to lift a whole bunch. I understand, but that's the objective. Be as close to full throttle the whole way through here as possible. yank the steering to the left so that you get all of this apex and more. Your momentum will track you out all the way over here. Don't be afraid of the grass. Over there like that. All right, and then there's Banky Boy. We've got a brake marker right in between this digital flag and the 50 marker. Be as close to the 50 as you can. With the visualizer, I think we have a really good good example here of what it'll look like. Go ahead and tighten this up. Okay, and then we're not that steep on Banky Boy. It's more like this. So this is what we're going for here. We're going for a wide entrance using the banking of Banky Boy to really catapult the car through this section right here. Okay, so brake hard in a straight line and then bleed off the brakes really quick in this vicinity so that you can be on the throttle in this area with getting the business of the turn done well before you get to the apex. It makes the exit that much less dramatic, less chance of spinning out and that sort of thing. On the actual track, it looks like this. So braking hard in a straight line through here, all the way down the gears, second, and then we really want to aim for clobbering all of this apex. Get your left tires onto the curbing, your right tires onto the extra curbing, and you should be able to make the corner. If you're having trouble and you keep going wide on this part, widen your entrance a little bit more, okay? Go through here, full throttle, turn in, aim to get all of that apex there. This sequence is really interesting. We're trying to get through what is essentially, in the end, it's a beyond 180 degree turn. I know there's 2 turns in this, but the way we treat it, because we go so wide after the first turn here, it's basically like a double apex. That's the key to this sequence here. So for a double apex, it's beyond 180 degrees. We're basically looking at this. So we're clobbering the first apex, and we're coming out nice and wide, being at our slowest. In this case, it's a little different because there's a little dab of the brake right in this vicinity in order to stay tight to the apex here as we exit, okay? So on the actual track then, we're braking right as we pass the Marshall box on the left. And we're tucking it in nice and tight, 3rd gear. And then nice smooth throttle inputs. And this is where we're at our widest, okay? Really, I know it's scary, but you need to work your way towards being as wide as possible through this sector because it makes the next 2 turns that much easier. So plan on being as wide as the double curbs and then come back as the double curbs go away. Right in here is a few more dabs of the brake, just to make sure that you're tucking the car in and hitting this apex nice and tightly. And you're on the throttle then. You're on the throttle probably in this vicinity right here, actually. This orange sausage can really throw the car off, but here's how you avoid that. So if your momentum is taking you all the way out here, which it should, you can take the corner like this, so that when you're putting the sausage in the middle, in between the wheels. That way you don't get that nasty bounce. You actually just sort of cruise over it like this. Then the final turn. Whoa, what happened? DK with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Nielsen. Everyone who can, throw up a stud emoji for Nielsen, please. He rocks. Thank you so much, bud. I like to brake on this one at the where the tire marks are on the just over my car there. You can see what we're trying to do here is sort of a wide entrance, but with the objective of clobbering the apex once again, quite a bit like this. So we're braking in a straight line, pretty hard, really hard actually, going down into fourth, and then letting the car sweep into the corner, and then being on the throttle pretty much right around here and making it, okay? But what that looks like on the actual track this time, because the track limits provide you ample opportunity to go really on the inside. So we want to take full advantage. Again, braking right here really hard. You're probably in fifth. If you've carried enough speed from the previous sector, you'll want to be in fifth because it'll hit the limiter. If you haven't carried enough speed, you'll be in fourth, and you can just keep it in fourth. So we're turning in, and the game is allowing us to go as far inside as this, and we need to be full on the throttle at this point here. Our speed will carry us all the way to the outside, and that's a lap guide for Lago Maggiore. Not too shabby. Let's do a lap guide. All right, so when you look at the map, top right hand corner, we've got a turn that is maybe just the ever so slightest over 90 degrees. What we're trying to do is get a lot of the turn done before, and even more so than usual. And that's because not only is there no banking for this corner, it's actually negative banking. It's a negative camber where we're actually already leaning the way that the car's weight's going to transfer. So that makes it even extra tough. Let the car, brake in a straight line, but let the car roll a little bit as you trail brake, 20% or less even, to get it to tighten to this apex here. And you got to be patient with this corner because of that. And most of the time, and it's crazy how easy it is to go wide on this corner, and it's because of that negative camber. On the actual track, this is your braking point right here. This is where I like to brake. So one marker might be the end of the green and concrete over on the left, just about there. So you're braking in a straight line, being nice and patient, and you're basically turning in just about when you get to that orange painted part of the barrier there. Down in second gear, letting it roll through here, and then getting on the throttle no later than right about this spot. If you can get on throttle earlier, that would be great too. All right, so our typical, what we're used to for this, when we're here for group 3s, is this escape road right here. But with the group 4s, it looks like the braking point is as you've passed it. So right about here, actually. That's how you want to approach this. Now, we have a really cool sequence of corners here. So you want to be aggressive for this first one, and then finesse the next two, and then aggressive for the next one. So aggressive for the rights, finesse for the two lefts that are in a row. What does that look like exactly here? Well, you're braking in a straight line, and I want you to carry speed through this apex. You're still slowing down for sure, but by now you need to be on the throttle. And don't be afraid actually to track out a little bit wide. Carry speed through this, okay? If you have driving markers up, ignore that driving marker on the right. It does not exist, okay? I like to get ready for this. I like to bash it. So we were in third gear there. I like to bash it down to second gear. It gives some extra rotation. And really, the finesse part of these two left-handers is that you need to keep the car to the left as much as possible. Don't go too far to the right. That's just going to actually hinder your time and slow you down. We're clobbering this apex, so we don't want to be any wider than this right here. Okay, that's really the idea. And then on this part, we're clobbering this apex, carrying lots of speed, And as soon as we get straight, so right about here, before the curb ends on the right, need to be slamming the brakes. I mean, toss out the anchor. Like you need to get it stopped in a hurry. So heavy braking here in a straight line, aiming for this down to first gear. Get the car turned quickly. This is where +5 brake balance to the rear will really help you, because you need to get this car turned around. Because you really want to be on the throttle by this point here, okay? And if you're going slow enough there, you'll make the corner no problem. Okay, I like this turn. It's different. So what we have really going on here is it's probably a 135-degree turn, just about. And you need to take the car out wide and gradually tighten to the apex for this corner. That's really the idea here. I've noticed it can be a little bit of a lift, or it can be a little bit of a dab of the brakes, depending on how much speed you've carried through into this corner. But there is no braking in this area, okay? You're full throttle through here, and now you're lifting and or doing some braking here, waiting for the car to rotate. You getting on the curb just a little bit, but just a little bit. If you get too much curbing for too long, it spins the car. But if you get on a little bit of it just for a little while, it actually helps you turn the car and really helps you make this turn, okay? So what that looks like on the actual corner here, full speed through here, turning, now lifting or dab of the brake, tightening to the apex. Once the marshal gets to about here, on my view, the marshal box, I know I need to be on the throttle and go for it. So a little bit of curbing like this, not too much, just for a little bit, helps turn the car. It's a beautiful thing. Don't be afraid to track out all the way out here. Braking at the 50 board, right here. Visualizer can help us a lot here as well. This is about what we're trying to accomplish right here. Ultra late apex with the intention of getting almost all of the turning done before we get to the apex, so that we can be on the throttle in this vicinity here and still track out and make the corner, okay? You don't want to cut this. It feels fast to get to the apex real quickly, like right here, but then you have to wait for the car to turn, then you have to wait to get on the throttle. It's not going to be quick for you, okay? On the actual track, then you're braking in a straight line through here. Second gear, first gear, getting the car to turn nice and tightly, on the throttle, out in second, out you go. Next turn, braking point is just before the 50 board, right about here. This is maybe a 60-degree turn, and you don't want to overlook this one, honestly. You still need to get the business of the turn done before you get to the apex, and the apex is maybe later than you think it is. It is really right around here, not here, but right around here. Once you turn, you're trailing off the brakes to get it to tighten to the apex. And then if you're on the throttle here and you've done the business of the turn before the apex, you'll make the corner. You really will, okay? So what that looks like on the actual track is just like this, turning right around here, sweeping through, getting on the throttle right there and going. Now this one is a lot like the long sweeping left that we just did. It's the same principle. You're not really hitting the brakes and going in a straight line. You are chucking the car in third gear, hitting the brakes, just dabbing it to get it to tighten to the apex, okay? So you can be on the throttle by now and still make the corner. Same here, you want to chuck the car in, make sure you're clobbering this apex. Okay, and then full brake at this point. This is like 2 turns back to back, but we're gonna treat it like a 180-degree turn, okay? For this sequence, we may go a little bit deeper than this, that's fine. But think of it as hitting the first apex, tracking out wide, being at your slowest. Key point here, being at your slowest in this vicinity, so that you can get on the throttle in this area and then make the corner, and you're set up really nicely for the next few corners, okay? For the actual track, that looks like this. So we're coming through here, under braking, down to second gear, clobbering this apex, still on the brakes, then being at our slowest right at this point, making sure the car is turned on the throttle fully. The car will make it. I watched the Ghost. He does clobber this corner right here, just like this. Not a bad plan. It does unsettle the car a little bit, so if it's difficult for you to handle, don't necessarily have to do this, but it's not a bad idea, and you know that the car can do it. The next corner coming up is a lift, as long as you've taken it properly. So make sure you track out all the way to the right. Turn and lift a little bit in third. Make sure you're just watching. You just don't want to go too wide. But if you're able over here, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Long sweeping right. Again, it's the same deal as a few of our other ones. We'll use the visualizer this time. Forget the colors here for a moment. This is factoring in a big brake zone, but this isn't a big brake zone. This is chucking the car in, waiting for the car to turn, dabbing the brakes, not fully. You know, you're in third gear, you're letting the car rotate, and then key point is where you're at your slowest. And for this corner, it's in this vicinity here. And I'll give you a great accelerating marker for this. Okay, but the key is for this, okay, make sure you start out wide. That's really what our visualizer is showing us here. Start out very wide, gradually tuck it in, okay? That's going to be really helpful. So on the actual track then, what that looks like is coming out here, you're in third, you're dabbing the brakes, but you're still tightening slightly. Okay, do you see the Marshall box? And do you see the other Marshall box? There's a pole right in between the two of them. You see that there? That's my accelerating marker. Now, that accelerating marker only works is if you have gotten a nice wide entrance, okay? If you haven't gotten that wider entrance, then the car is not pointed like it is right now, and you're gonna have to wait to get on the throttle. You'll have to wait till you see, you know, till you get the second Marshall box or even that orange painted part of the barrier. That's really what's going to end up happening. So make sure you get a wide entrance. The pole is a great marker to accelerate fully out of this corner. Hitting this apex, assassinating this apex, and out you go. Also, here's a quick guide to getting this pit stop as right as possible. Right, full throttle through here. You get over to this part. Now, my braking marker, once I get past the faded part onto the super white part here, that's when I am fully on the brakes, okay? Downshifting all the way down to second. Tuck it in here, tuck it in like this. You're just trying to straighten it as much as possible, okay? And that will do it for this week's edition of Lap Guides with Led. Please hit that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe as well if you haven't, so you can stay up to date on all the live streams, shorts, and videos that we put out on a regular basis. We'll see you soon, friends. And with getting the business of the done turn, no.